Hi everyone. So today we'll do the detailed paper analysis of UGC NET Code 55 HRM and Labor Welfare exam that took place on 14th March 2023. This was for the December 2022 cycle. Human Veritas provides you with a comprehensive preparation plan for UGC NET subjects like management, commerce, and HRM and labor welfare if you are a Code 55 aspirant and you want to prepare with us. All you have to do is go on our website. When once you get to our website, you can find Code 55 UGC NET web page, and in this web page you'll find a detailed process of how you prepare with us. You can opt for coaching classes, printed booklets plus coaching, or anything else. We have got you covered for everything. So let's get to the questions now. Let's analyze the December 2022 paper and see how the questions were.
Question says, according to CI Barnard, जोन ऑफ इंडिफरेंस डिनोट्स। तो जोन ऑफ इंडिफरेंस का सीधा सीधा मतलब पूछा है। एज द नेम सजेस्ट, इसका ये मतलब होता है कि वो पर्टिकुलर एरिया या वो पर्टिकुलर एक्टिविटी जिससे एम्प्लॉय को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा एंड यू कैन इजीली इंप्लीमेंट देम। अगेन ऑप्शन सी में अगर आप देखेंगे, द लिमिट विद इन विच इंडिविजुअल विल रिस्पॉन्ड विलिंगली टू द एक्सरसाइज ऑफ अथॉरिटी ओवर देम। जब कोई फर्क ही नहीं पड़ेगा तो जाहिर सी बात है विल रहेगी और ऑप्शन सी इसका सही आंसर हो जाएगा। नेक्स्ट इज द फिनोमिना अराइजिंग बेसिकली फ्रॉम पीपल बीइंग नोटिस्ड इज नोन एज। तो यहां पर भी हमें एक चीज नोट करनी है कि जो हॉथरॉन इफेक्ट था, जो हॉथरॉन एक्सपेरिमेंट था, उसका पर्पस ये था कि अगर हम वर्किंग कंडीशंस को बदलेंगे तो प्रोडक्टिविटी पे क्या फर्क पड़ेगा। बट इवेंचुअली क्या निकल के आया कि ये पता चला कि जब पीपल आर बीइंग नोटिस्ड तब उनकी इफेक्टिव प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ रही है। राइट, तो इसीलिए सीधा सीधा इसका सीधा आंसर हो जाएगा ऑप्शन C. Next is, which of the following establishes a required method of handling future activities? देखिए बहुत ही बेसिक डिफरेंस होते हैं। तो प्रोसीजर इसका सही आंसर है। क्या होता है प्रोसीजर? हमें बताता है स्टेप बाय स्टेप गाइडलाइंस जो है, राइट, कोई भी एक्टिविटी को हैंडल करने के लिए। तो इसीलिए इसका करेक्ट आंसर ऑप्शन बी हो जाएगा। नेक्स्ट इज, विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग फैक्टर्स वुड नॉट लीड टू नैरो स्पैन ऑफ मैनेजमेंट। तो नैरो स्पैन ऑफ मैनेजमेंट, पहले तो स्पैन ऑफ मैनेजमेंट क्या होता है, जैसे हम स्पैन ऑफ कंट्रोल भी कहते हैं। इसमें ये होता है कि एक मैनेजर जो है वो कितने सारे सबऑर्डिनेट्स को इफेक्टिवली मैनेज कर सकता है। राइट, अब इसमें पूछ रहा है नॉट लीड टू नैरो स्पैन ऑफ मैनेजमेंट, यानी अगर कोई चीज अच्छा कर रही है उस चीज को तो वही इसका आंसर होगा। तो ऑप्शन सी में आपको डायरेक्ट दिख रहा है इफेक्टिव इंटरेक्शन बिटवीन सुपीरियर्स एंड सबऑर्डिनेट्स। जाहिर सी बात है अगर इफेक्टिव इंटरेक्शन है तो नैरो नहीं हो रहा है, वाइड हो रहा है, ब्रॉड हो रहा है, इसलिए इसका करेक्ट आंसर हो जाएगा ऑप्शन सी। नेक्स्ट इज, विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग परफॉर्मेंस अप्रेजल टेक्निक्स जनरेट्स क्रिटिकल इंसिडेंट्स एंड डेवलप बिहेवियरल डायमेंशन ऑफ परफॉर्मेंस। तो इसका सीधा सीधा आंसर क्या होता है? बिहेवियरली एंकर रेटिंग स्केल। आप वो क्रिटिकल इंसिडेंट्स आइडेंटिफाइड करते हो, उसके बाद उसके परफॉर्मेंस, उसको उससे रिलेटेड रेटिंग करते हो, अलग अलग स्पेसिफिक बिहेवियर को एनालाइज करते हो कि क्या स्पेसिफिक बिहेवियर या फिर होना चाहिए, एंड देन यू विल डेवलप अ पर्टिकुलर मेजरमेंट स्केल जिसे हम परफॉर्मेंस के बेसिस पे मेजर भी कर लेते हैं। तो करेक्ट आंसर इसका हो जाएगा बिहेवियरली एंकर्ड रेटिंग स्केल। Next is, which one of the following theories of labor welfare assume that without compulsion and fear of punishment, employers will not provide even the minimum welfare facilities for the workers? तो सीधी बात है, पुलिस थ्योरी में क्या बताया गया है? पुलिस थ्योरी में बताया गया है कि मैन इज अ सेल्फिश एंड सेल्फ सेंटर्ड क्रीचर और ब्रीड, एंड सेकेंडली ये है कि उसके ऊपर आपको एक कंपल्शन देना ही होगा, अदरवाइज वो अपने एडवांटेज के लिए काम करता रहेगा। देयरफॉर द करेक्ट आंसर इज ऑप्शन डी, विच इज पुलिस थ्योरी। नेक्स्ट इज, विच वन ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज नॉट द इंटरनल कॉज ऑफ एक्सीडेंट्स। तो इंटरनल कॉज ऑफ एक्सीडेंट्स कौन से हैं जो आपके एरिया, इंडस्ट्री या फिर जहां आप काम कर रहे हैं वर्किंग एरिया से रिलेटेड है? तो इक्विपमेंट और अदर वर्किंग टेंजिबल्स हो गए, हार्मफुल मटेरियल हो गए, टॉक्सिक केमिकल्स हो गए, राइट। पर ह्यूमन फैक्टर ऐसा है जिसे हम कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते हैं, एंड देयरफॉर द करेक्ट आंसर इज ह्यूमन फैक्टर, ऑप्शन सी। नेक्स्ट इज, विच वन ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज नॉट अ प्रिवेंटिव मेजर फॉर ऑक्यूपेशनल डिसीजेस। प्रिवेंटिव मेजर वो है जो एक्सीडेंट बचाता है, और ऑप्शन अगर आप क्या कहते हैं ए ऑप्शन सी में अगर आप देखेंगे, प्रोविजन ऑफ फर्स्ट एड एंड एम्बुलेंस सर्विसेज, ये वो है जो रेमेडियल स्टेप है, यानी रेमेडियल मेजर है, यानी एक्सीडेंट हो चुका है उसके बाद आपके पास क्या सुविधाएं हैं, एंड देयरफॉर करेक्ट आंसर इज ऑप्शन सी। नेक्स्ट इज 36, which one of the following principles of labor welfare assumes that a combination of social, emotional and economic welfare together will achieve good result? तो ये क्या है, टोटलिटी की बात कर रहा है, और करेक्ट आंसर हो जाएगा प्रिंसिपल ऑफ टोटलिटी ऑफ वेलफेयर। नेक्स्ट इज 41, डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन के बारे में पूछ रहा है। तो डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन क्या मतलब होता है कि आपने पहले डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन किया पर आप कुछ पार्शियल सेंट्रलाइजेशन उसके बाद कर रहे हो, यानी एक पार्शियल सेंट्रलाइजेशन आप उसके बाद कर रहे हो। और ऑप्शन यहाँ के स्टेटमेंट डी में आपको दिख जाएगा, अ पार्शियल सेंट्रलाइजेशन एज द अथॉरिटी डेलीगेटेड इज नॉट कंप्लीटली विथड्रॉन। ठीक है, तो पार्शियल होता है, इसलिए डी ओनली इसका सही आंसर हो जाएगा। नेक्स्ट इज which of the following statement are correct about the classical approach to decision making? तो जो क्लासिकल अप्रोच ऑफ डिसीजन मेकिंग है, इसे हम रेशनल डिसीजन मेकिंग भी कहते हैं। इसमें हर एक चीज को साइंटिफिकली देखा जाता है और उसके बेसिस पे ही डिसीजन दिए जाते हैं। तो पहला डिसीजन मेकिंग इज कंप्लीटली रेशनल इन टर्म्स ऑफ मीन्स एंड एंड, बिल्कुल सही स्टेटमेंट है। मैन इज एबल टू ऑर्डर हिज प्रेफरेंसेस सो एज टू गेट बेस्ट रिजल्ट्स, ये भी सही बात है कि अपने ऑल्टरनेटिव्स को उसने रैंक कर दिया। व्हाइल चूजिंग द कॉज ऑफ एक्शन मैन अटेम्प्ट्स टू सेटिस्फाई और लुक फॉर द अल्टरनेटिव दैट इज गुड इनफ। ये बहुत ही पार्शियल और इनकरेक्ट, बहुत सी पार्शियल स्टेटमेंट है। इवन इसमें क्या होता है, वो अपने ऑल्टरनेटिव्स को अच्छे से डिस्टिंक्ट कर सकता है एंड देन आल्सो उनको रैंक भी कर सकता है। तो ये स्टेटमेंट हम सही नहीं मानेंगे। डिसीजन और आल्सो बेस्ड ऑन रूल ऑफ थंब, ट्रिक्स और ट्रेड और फोर्स ऑफ हैबिट, बिल्कुल अपोजिट बात कह दी। तो ऑप्शन ए एंड बी कहां पे दिया हुआ है, मुझे ऑप्शन बी में दिया हुआ है, और यही हमारा करेक्ट आंसर हो जाएगा। नेक्स्ट इज विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग मेथड्स ऑफ कलेक्टिंग जॉब एनालिसिस इंफॉर्मेशन? तो मतलब जॉब एनालिसिस कलेक्ट, जब हम जॉब एनालिसिस कर रहे हैं तो कौन सी मेथड्स के थ्रू हम इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट कर सकते हैं? तो ऑब्जर्वेशन जाहिर सी बात है, बिल्कुल सही बात है। पार्टिसिपेंट डायरी लॉग्स, बिल्कुल सही बात है। डिजॉबिंग, अब डिजॉबिंग क्या होता है? डिजॉबिंग क्या होता है कि जॉब को आपने कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट्स में तोड़ लिया और फिर आपको रीडिजाइन कुछ करना है जॉब को, तो इट इज मोर रिलेटेड टू रीडिजाइनिंग। तो ये हमारा सही आंसर नहीं होगा। पोजीशन एनालिसिस क्वेश्चन, बिल्कुल सही बात है। री इंजीनियरिंग नहीं, ये भी सही नहीं होगा। री इंजीनियरिंग अगेन इट इज नॉट जस्ट द री इंजीनियरिंग ऑफ एनी जॉब बट फॉर द होल बिजनेस कहते हैं इसको। ठीक है, बिजनेस प्रोसेस री इंजीनियरिंग करके एक की टर्म होता है। तो करेक्ट आंसर हो जाएगा इसका ए, बी एंड डी, विच इज ऑप्शन सी। नेक्स्ट आगे बढ़ते हैं। व्हाट इज द नेम ऑफ ह्यूमन रिसोर्स फोरकास्टिंग टूल विच स्टडीज अ फर्म्स पास्ट एम्प्लॉयमेंट नीड ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ इयर्स टू प्रोटेक्ट फ्यूचर नीड्स? सीधे सीधे ये हमें ट्रेंड एनालिसिस की डेफिनेशन दी गई है, जिसमें हम जो जो एम्प्लॉयमेंट से रिलेटेड जानकारियां होती हैं, जैसे नंबर ऑफ जॉब्स कितनी है, या फिर उनमें स्किल सेट क्या रिक्वायर्ड है, उन सबके एनालिसिस के बेसिस पे एक फ्यूचर प्रिडिक्शन करते हैं, और इसीलिए इसका आंसर ऑप्शन बी हो जाएगा। आगे बढ़ते हैं। विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग आर द ऑब्जेक्टिव्स ऑफ इंडियन लेबर कॉन्फ्रेंस? तो आईएलसी आया 1940s के टाइम पे, तो उनका क्या ऑब्जेक्टिव था? ठीक है, तो टू प्रमोट यूनिफॉर्मिटी इन लेबर लेजिस्लेशन, बिल्कुल सही बात है। टू ले डाउन अ प्रोसीजर फॉर सेटलमेंट ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल डिस्प्यूट, ये भी सही बात है। टू डिटरमाइन एंड फिक्स मिनिमम वेजेस फॉर द इंडस्ट्रियल वर्कर, नहीं, इसके लिए अलग अलग बोर्ड्स आए हैं, पर आईएलसी स्पेसिफिकली इसके नहीं का स्पेसिफिक ऑब्जेक्टिव नहीं है। टू डिस्कस ऑल मैटर्स ऑफ इंडिया इंपॉर्टेंस बिटवीन एम्प्लॉयर एंड एम्प्लॉइज, ये भी सही बात है। तो करेक्ट आंसर हो जाएगा इसका ए, बी एंड डी, विच इज ऑप्शन सी। आगे बढ़ते हैं। Which of the following are the three-tier system for the settlement of grievances under model grievance procedure? तो तीन लेवल इसमें बताए गए, जो सरकार ने मॉडल ग्रीवांस प्रोसीजर बनाया। जो 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 लोअर लेवल है उसमें डिपार्टमेंटल और फैक्ट्री हेड होता है, सॉरी उसमें आपका इमीडिएट सुपीरियर होता है। उसके बाद जो ऊपर वाला लेवल होता है वो डिपार्टमेंटल और फैक्ट्री हेड होता है, एंड देन सबसे ऊपर एक बाईपार्टाइट ग्रीवांस कमेटी बनेगी एम्प्लॉयर और एम्प्लॉय की, और यही तीन जो है सही हो जाएंगे। ठीक है, तो करेक्ट आंसर क्या है इसका? ए, बी एंड सी, विच इज ऑप्शन बी। आगे बढ़ते हैं, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन पे आते हैं। तो आईएलओ से रिलेटेड कुछ स्टेटमेंट है, हमें बताना है कौन सा करेक्ट है, नॉट नहीं करेक्ट है। तो आईएलओ इज अ ट्राइपार्टाइट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, बिल्कुल सही बात है। एक यूनिक फीचर है आईएलओ का ये। इंडिया इज द फाउंडर मेंबर ऑफ आईएलओ, बिल्कुल सही बात है। आईएलओ ओनली पासिस कन्वेंशन, अब ओनली वर्ड तो वैसे भी अपने आप में ठीक नहीं है, इंटरनेशनल बॉडी है, इसके और भी बहुत सारे काम होते हैं। एक तरीके से ये डायलॉग प्लेटफॉर्म होता है इतने सारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के लिए। आईएलओ अडॉप्टेड द डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ फंडामेंटल प्रिंसिपल एट इट्स 36 सेशन, बिल्कुल सही बात है। 19 1998 में ये अडॉप्ट किया गया था। इंडिया हैज रेटिफाइड 4 फंडामेंटल कन्वेंशन ऑफ आईएलओ टिल डेट, नहीं 6 कर चुके हैं हम। तो ऑप्शन गलत कौन सा था, सी और ई, यानी ऑप्शन सी इसका सही आंसर हो जाएगा। नेक्स्ट इज अंडर द बिल्डिंग एंड अदर कंस्ट्रक्शन वर्कर्स एक्ट 1996, crèches shall be provided in every crèche shall be provided in every places। कहाँ पे प्रोवाइड किया जाता है, जहां पे 50 फीमेल वर्क बिल्डिंग वर्कर्स एम्प्लॉयड हैं और दे आर फॉर द यूज ऑफ चिल्ड्रन अंडर द एज ऑफ 6 years। तो इसके सही आंसर हो जाएंगे बी और सी, यानी आपका ऑप्शन बी। आगे बढ़ते हैं। विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट इज आर नॉट करेक्ट related to minimum wages act? तो appropriate government shall fix the minimum rates of wages for the employees employed in an employment specified in schedule 1 और schedule 2। अब देखिए ये स्टेटमेंट बिल्कुल गलत है, ठीक है, क्योंकि शेड्यूल 1 के 2 पार्ट होते हैं, विच इज पार्ट 1 और पार्ट 2। ठीक है, अगला स्टेटमेंट, डिफरेंट मिनिमम रेट्स ऑफ वेजेस में बी फिक्स फॉर डिफरेंट लोकेलिटी, बिल्कुल सही बात है। Appropriate government may review the minimum rate of wages so fixed at such interval not exceeding 3 years। यहाँ पे 3 नहीं है, यहाँ पे है 5। ठीक है, appropriate government shall appoint a committee and subcommittee to advise it in respect of fixation or revision of minimum rate of wages, एकदम सही बात है। The minimum wages payable under this act may be paid in kind। अब यहाँ पे समझने वाली बात है कि सेक्शन 11 में जब हम देखते हैं तो लिखा हुआ है they shall be paid in wage, they shall be paid in cash, not in kind में। पर हम अगला क्लॉज देखते हैं तो हमें पता चलता है कि appropriate government कुछ कुछ ऑथराइज भी कर सकती है फॉर द पेमेंट इन काइंड, तो इसीलिए मे वर्ड यूज किया गया और ये स्टेटमेंट यहाँ पे सही हो जाएगा। ठीक है, तो ऑप्शन क्या से गलत क्या हो गया, ए गलत हो गया कम आउटराइटली, सी गलत हो गया आउटराइटली, और आपने ऑप्शन डी को टिक करके आ जाना है। 60, which of the following is are not correct with respect to the fine under payment of wages act 1936? तो no fine shall be imposed on any employed person until he has been given an opportunity, बिल्कुल सही बात है। The total amount of fine in any one wage period or any employed person shall not exceed 5%, नहीं यहाँ पे 3% है, 3% है। Next is no fine shall be imposed on any employed person who is under the age of 18 years, नहीं, अगेन 15 साल की बात है। ठीक है, तो बी गलत हो गया, सी गलत हो गया, हमें इनकरेक्ट ही बताना है। नो फाइन इम्पोज ऑन एनी एम्प्लॉयड पर्सन शैल बी रिकवर्ड फ्रॉम हिम बाय इंस्टॉलमेंट, बिल्कुल सही बात है। नो फाइन शैल बी रिकवर्ड फॉर एनी एम्प्लॉयड पर्सन आफ्टर द एक्सपायरी ऑफ 90 days फ्रॉम द डे ऑन विच इट वाज इम्पोज्ड, ये भी एकदम सही बात है। तो हमें 2 स्टेटमेंट गलत मिले, एक मिला स्टेटमेंट बी और एक मिला स्टेटमेंट सी, तो ऑप्शन सी इसका सही आंसर हो जाएगा। तो अब 2 स्टेटमेंट हमारे सामने है। एफिशिएंसी इज द अचीवमेंट ऑफ ऑब्जेक्टिव्स एंड इफेक्टिवनेस इज द अचीवमेंट ऑफ द एंड्स विद द लीस्ट अमाउंट ऑफ रिसोर्सेज। तो ये उल्टा लिखा हुआ है, एफिशिएंसी एक्चुअली ये होता है और इफेक्टिवनेस एक्चुअली ये होता है, तो दोनों स्टेटमेंट इनकरेक्ट है, तो ऑप्शन बी इसका हमारा सही आंसर हो जाएगा। नेक्स्ट इज जॉब रोटेशन इज अ काइंड ऑफ लेटरल ट्रांसफर व्हिच अलाउज एम्प्लॉइज टू वर्क एट डिफरेंट जॉब्स एंड इट प्रोवाइड्स गुड एक्सपोजर, सही बात है, बिल्कुल सही बात है। स्टेटमेंट 2 क्या, सिमुलेशन एक्सरसाइजेस आर लर्निंग टास्क ऑन द सेम इक्विपमेंट देन वन एक्चुअली विल यूज ऑन द जॉब बट इन अ सिमुलेटेड एनवायरनमेंट, राइट। सेम इक्विपमेंट होना यहाँ पे जरूरी नहीं है, कुछ सिमुलेटेड इक्विपमेंट भी हो सकते हैं, तो ये स्टेटमेंट पूरी तरीके से सही नहीं है और इनकरेक्ट मानेंगे और ऑप्शन सी को हम टिक कर देंगे। नेक्स्ट इज असर्शन एंड रीजन, यूनियंस कॉमनली नोन एज प्रोटेस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन protest never taken up any developmental activities, they are at crossroads, they are on divergent path, one wonders they would like to map and right। एक तरीके से यूनियन के बारे में थोड़ा सा डिटेल बताया गया कि किस तरीके से वो है, और रीजन में कह रहा है द कंसोलिडेशन ऑफ द वर्कर्स फोर्सेस अटेन्ड इन द इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रगल विल आल्सो हैव टू सर्व एज अ लीवर इन द हैंड्स ऑफ दिस क्लास फॉर द स्ट्रगल अगेंस्ट द पॉलिटिकल पावर ऑफ एक्सप्लॉइटर्स। तो सेशन भी सही है, रीजन भी सही है, पर दे आर नॉट डायरेक्टली रिलेटेड, एक्सप्लेनेशन नहीं है रीजन एक तरीके से, राइट। तो इसलिए इसका करेक्ट आंसर हो जाएगा ऑप्शन बी। ठीक है, नेक्स्ट इज 71, असर्शन में क्या कह रहा है, द स्कीम ऑफ जॉइंट मैनेजमेंट काउंसिल वाज इवॉल्व्ड ऑन अ वॉलंटरी बेसिस टू प्रमोट इंडस्ट्रियल पीस एंड हार्मनी, राइट, बिटवीन द स्टेक होल्डर्स। तो अब ये बात एकदम सही है कि 1958 में जब ये आया था तो ये एक तरीके से वर्कर पार्टिसिपेशन से रिलेटेड करने के लिए ही आया था। एंड रीजन में भी हम देखते हैं तो वो बात कहता है कि 1956 आईपीआर में सोशलिस्ट डेमोक्रेसी हमने डिक्लेयर कर दिया था इंडिया को, और उसके बाद ही ये बात आई कि हमें पार्टिसिपेट करवाना है वर्कर्स को मैनेजमेंट में, और देयरफॉर करेक्ट एक्सप्लेनेशन ये हो गया, एंड बोथ आर ट्रू एंड रीजन इज द करेक्ट एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ असर्शन। आगे बढ़ते हैं। गिवन बिलो आर 2 स्टेटमेंट्स। स्टेटमेंट 1 कहता है वेयर द एम्प्लॉयमेंट ऑफ एनी पर्सन इज टर्मिनेटेड द वेजेस अर्न्ड बाय हिम शैल बी पेड बिफोर द एक्सपायरी ऑफ द 7th date फ्रॉम द डे ऑन व्हिच हिज एम्प्लॉयमेंट इज टर्मिनेटेड। बहुत ही पुअरली फ्रेम्ड है क्वेश्चन, क्योंकि उसमें एक्ट का जिक्र नहीं किया है, पेमेंट ऑफ वेजेस एक्ट की बात कर रहा है, राइट। तो इसमें 2nd डे होता है, इसलिए ये तो पूरी तरीके से गलत हो गया। when the application made to claim arising out of deduction from wage was found either malicious or vexatious, the authority to may direct penalty not exceeding 375 rupees. ये एकदम सही बात है. तो स्टेटमेंट 1 इनकरेक्ट, स्टेटमेंट 2 करेक्ट, और हम ऑप्शन डी को हम टिक करके आ जाएंगे. नेक्स्ट इज स्टेटमेंट 1. Neoclassical economics begin from a model of purposive behavior by individuals. Individuals are assumed to have their own unique tastes, preferences, wants and desires which they attempt to satisfy. हाँ, डिमांड एंड सप्लाई की बात करता है न्यू क्लासिकल अप्रोच, और ये बिल्कुल सही स्टेटमेंट हो गया. Neoclassical economics examines the choices that individual make in their roles as consumers or as producers. ये भी सही बात है, और दोनों ही स्टेटमेंट हमारे करेक्ट हो जाएंगे. Next is in which of these cultural orientations the home country's culture is sought to be imposed on subsidiary. तो ये क्या होता है, ये एथनोसेंट्रिक अप्रोच होता है. ठीक है, आगे बढ़ते हैं. स्टेट दो मैच द कॉलम है, दो लिस्ट है. गोल, ड्राइव, नीड एंड फ्रस्ट्रेशन. हमें मोस्ट अप्रोप्रिएट कनेक्शन ढूंढना है. तो यहाँ पे हम देखते हैं, ठीक है, तो फ्रस्ट्रेशन क्या है, डिफेंस मैकेनिज्म है सबसे पहले. तो हम देखेंगे डी को ही, डी को कहाँ गया, ये रहा. तो डी को हमें 2 बनाना है, यहाँ पे मिल रहा है, यहाँ पे मिल रहा है. इसके अलावा नीड भी जो है वो क्या है, नीड क्यों है, बिकॉज देयर इज अ डेफिशिएंसी, राइट. तो सी को 1 बनाना है, सी को 1 हमने यहाँ बनाया. हम सीधे सीधे देख रहे हैं, ऑप्शन डी इसका करेक्ट आंसर हो जाएगा. और उसके अलावा भी देखें तो गोल क्या है, फुलफिलमेंट ऑफ डेफिशिएंसीज, और ड्राइव क्या है, हमें पता है कि डायरेक्शंस क्या है उनको अचीव करने के. तो ए का 3, बी का 4, सी का 1 और डी का 2. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट इज असर्शन में क्या कह रहा है, डार्क ट्राइड इज द कॉन्स्टलेशन ऑफ नेगेटिव पर्सनैलिटी ट्रेस कंसिस्ट ऑफ मैकियावेलिज्म, नार्सिसिज्म एंड साइकोपैथी. एकदम सही बात है. रीजन क्या है, एन इंडिविजुअल इन नार्सिसिज्म इज प्रैग्मेटिक, मेंटेन्स इमोशनल डिस्टेंस एंड बिलीव्स दैट एंड्स कैन जस्टिफाई मींस. तो ये सही डेफिनेशन नहीं है नार्सिसिस्ट की. नार्सिसिस्ट इज बेसिकली एसोसिएटेड विद कांस्टेंट ड्राइव फॉर सेल्फ एडमायरेशन से रिलेटेड है, राइट. इसी प्रकार साइकोपैथी किस चीज से रिलेटेड है, कि लैक ऑफ एम्पैथी है यहाँ पे, राइट. मैकियावेलिज्म किससे रिलेटेड है, कि अपने मींस को जस्टिफाई करने के लिए मैनिपुलेशन वहां पे आ रहा है. तो इन्हीं तीनों चीजों को मिला के हम बोलते हैं डार्क ट्राइड. ठीक है, तो ऑप्शन सी इसका करेक्ट आंसर हो जाएगा. नेक्स्ट इज 87. Ingratiations involves agreeing with the recruiter opinions by the candidate and thus signaling that they share same beliefs. हमारे HRM के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में एकदम ही सही बात है. इसका एग्जैक्टली मतलब यही होता है. रीजन क्या है, a perceived similarity in attitudes or value does not influence how to interview dates the applicant's competence. बिल्कुल गलत बात है, हमें कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ बायसनेस पता है, और इसीलिए ये स्टेटमेंट गलत हो जाएगा, और ऑप्शन सी इज द राइट आंसर.
Okay, next question. Industrial relation is an art, the art of living together for purposes of production. Who said this? So this is a simple question. I'm starting again, Shiva. Okay, the question is industrial relations is an art, the art of living together for purposes of production. Who said this? So basically this statement is given by Richardson J.H. So the answer to this question is option A. Next, the labor movement prepares the ground wherein the seed of trade unionism grows. Who said this? So this statement is given by S.D. Punekar. So correct option is B. Which trade union was a laboratory for experiencing ideas about industrial relations as perceived by Gandhiji? So as we are aware in industrial relations, so Gandhiji is associated with the Textile Labor Association of Ahmedabad. So correct option to this question is option B. Next question. Who authored the book Trade Unionism in New Society? So basically this book was authored by Harold J. Lusky. So correct option is A to this question. Next, what would be the maximum compensation to a workman in case of a closure of an organization on account of unavoidable circumstances beyond the control of employer? Very straightforward question from Industrial Dispute Act, wherein it says that a maximum of 3 months salary should be given for the circumstances which are unavoidable, beyond the control of the employer. So correct option is B. Next, in which of the following Supreme Court judgment the 2-judge bench has delivered a momentous judgment on government servants' right to strike on 6th of August 2003? So basically, they're referring to the year 2003, and the case which has been referred in this question is, that is T.K. Rangarajan versus Government of Tamil Nadu. So correct option to this question is A. In which session of the Indian Labour Conference the question of framing standing orders came up for consideration? So this Indian Labour Conference was held in 1943, and the conference was the fifth one in which the question of framing standing order came up for consideration. So correct option to this question is A. Next, in which organization the schemes of workers' participation in management 1983 were made applicable? So, because they are referring to workers' participation management scheme of 1983, so this scheme was made applicable to central public sector undertakings. So the correct option to this question is option C. Okay, very straightforward question from the Factories Act. Who appoints certifying surgeons for the purpose of the Factories Act? That is state government. So correct option to this question is B. First aid room shall be provided and maintained in every mine employing more than 150 persons. So correct option to this question is option B. Next, as per the Child and Adolescent Labor Act, the period of work of adolescent shall be so arranged that inclusive of his interval for rest, it shall not be spread over more than 6 hours. Right? So straightforward question from Child and Adolescent Labor Act. So correct option to this question is option C. Okay, very straight question from Interstate Migrant Workmen Act. So very simple question have been asked as far as labor law is concerned in this attempt. Okay, so they are asking Interstate Migrant Workmen Act applies to every establishment in which how many interstate migrant workmen are employed or were employed on any day of the preceding 12 months? That is 5 or more. So correct option to this question is option A. Every application to all claims arising out of payment of less than the minimum rate of wages under the Minimum Wages Act shall be presented to appropriate authority within how many months from the day on which it became payable? So, correct option to this question is 6 months. That is B. Right? Okay. Now the question is from Bonus Act. When there is a dispute regarding payment of bonus pending before any authority, then the bonus shall be paid within which month from the date on which the award become enforceable or settlement comes into operation. So in case of any dispute, so the bonus should be paid in 1 month. Otherwise, the time period for payment of bonus is 8 months as prescribed by Payment of Bonus Act, right? So correct option to this question is A, 1 month. Who constitutes advisory committee under the Equal Remuneration Act 1976? Again, very simple question from this act. So, appropriate government constitutes the advisory committee under this act. So, correct option to this question is option D. Next. Now we have to match up the name of the laws with the authority or body which is enacted under the law. So if we are looking at the options, Minimum Wages Act, that is that prescribes the constitution of advisory board. Equal Remuneration Act that talks about constitution of advisory committee. Payment of Gratuity Act talks about controlling authority, and EPF Act that talks about constitution of central board. So accordingly, the correct option to this question is option A. Okay. Other factors remaining constant with decrease in wage rates, what the demand for labor will show? So very simple question. So whenever there is decrease in wage rates, the demand for low will always show an upward trend, right? So correct option to this question is A. Which one of the following is not the characteristics of Indian labor market? So if you look at the option, you can easily identify that which one is not the characteristic of Indian labor market. Yes, there is a diversity in the workforce. So this is the characteristic of the Indian labor market. Lack of perfect mobility. So again, this is the characteristic of the Indian labor market because there is no perfect mobility, right? So people want to stick to their hometown and they do not want to move to other places. Monopsony is the again the feature of the labor market wherein there is only one buyer of the labor, right? So this shows that only this option, productivity of labor, is not the characteristic feature of the Indian labor market. Which one of the following convention number adopted at 100th ILO's International Conference in Geneva guarantees decent work for domestic workers? So decent work for domestic workers is convention number 189. So answer to this question is A. Fluctuations occur in the economy due to the phases of boom, recession, depression, and recovery in the trade cycle. The unemployment caused due to these phenomena is called, the hint is given in the question itself. So they are talking about the various phases of the trade cycle. So this must be referring to cyclical unemployment, right? So here we can get the hint. So correct option to this question is option D. Which of the following industrial disputes come under the jurisdiction of Labor Code under Section 10 of the Industrial Disputes Act 1947? So they are basically asking us the jurisdiction of the Labor Code, okay, as per the Industrial Dispute Act. So if we go by Schedule 2 of this Act, we can easily look into those matters. That is proprietary or legality of an order passed by the employer under the standing order. Yes, so this is under Labor Code jurisdiction. Then we have discharge or dismissal of workmen, including reinstatement. Yes, this is under the Labor Code jurisdiction. And illegality or otherwise of strike or lockout, again this is a matter which is listed under jurisdiction of the Labor Code in the Schedule 2 of ID Act, right? So leave with wages and holidays is specifically under the jurisdiction of Industrial Tribunal, right? So the answer to this question is B. Which three of the following was included as unfair labor practices in the amendment of Industrial Dispute Act 1982? So if we look at this question, one might get confused that they are asking about 1982 amendment. However, if we look at the schedules to the Act, that is Schedule 5, which prescribes unfair labor practices on the part of employer as well as workmen. So this is the same schedule which has been inserted in 1982. So as on date, there is no change. So if you would have gone through the schedule once, you could have easily locate the answer. तो इसमें सबके सब included है. Only option D is not the unfair labor trade practice as per the schedule 5 of the Industrial Dispute Act, right? Okay, so correct option is A, B, C. So above all three, the options which are mentioned at A, B, C, they are included as unfair trade practices. While refusal to honor collective bargaining, agreement, that is not the unfair labor practice. Okay. Which of the following are related to main aspects of industrial relations? So बहुत ही simple question पूछा है. And by looking at the options, we can easily identify. So what are the main aspects of industrial relations? Promoting and developing healthy labor management relations. Yes, it is. Maintenance of industrial peace and avoidance of industrial strife. Yes, it is. Maintenance and development of political democracy in the country. So this has nothing to do with the industrial relations. Okay, development of industrial democracy. Yes, of course, we are having this as main aspect of IR, right? So the answer should be ABD, which is depicted by option C, right? Next, which of the following dimensions of work needed to be same when performed under similar working conditions for considering them as same work of similar nature as per the Equal Remuneration Act 1976? Most of the time, from the Equal Remuneration Act, the definition which is being chosen for making a question over it is this same work of similar nature. So the answer is your skill, effort, and responsibility, right? So correct option is your A, C and D, skill, effort and responsibility. Which of the following are not welfare and amenities within the persons of establishment? So basically, except maternity benefit and benevolent fund, all are welfare and amenities within the persons of the establishment. Latrines and urinals, crutches, health, they are the welfare amenities, right? So maternity benefit is not a welfare benefit, right? Benevolent fund, basically they are because they are maintained out of the discretion of the employer. So these are not under the welfare amenities. Okay. So the answer should be option B to this question. What is the name of the concept in which organization have local employers abroad who do jobs that the firm's domestic employees previously did in-house? So very straightforward question. So offshoring is the correct answer to this question. Offshoring. So this concept is known as offshoring, right? Two statements are given, social loafing. One is on social loafing and another is defining group thinking, group thing. So what they have done, basically they have interchanged the definition of social loafing and group thing. That is why both these statements are false, right? So social loafing occurs when members reduce their effort and performance level while acting in a group, whereas groupthink is a dysfunction due to pressure to confirm and reach consensus in highly cohesive groups and teams. So basically they have interchanged the definitions. So that is why both these statements are incorrect. So correct option to this question is option B. Again, two statements are given. Provisions relating to hazardous process under the Factories Act is given in chapter 4. Statement 2 says state government may appoint a site appraisal committee for the purpose of advising it to consider applications for grant of permission for initial location of a factory involving a hazardous process. As per Factories Act, statement 2 is correct, whereas statement 1 is incorrect because provisions relating to hazardous process, they are mentioned in chapter 4A, not in chapter 4. Okay, so this was added in the year 1987 after the Bhopal gas tragedy, right? So correct option is your D. Statement 1 is incorrect while statement 2 is correct. Okay, coming to this question, we have to arrange the trade unions or associations according to their formation from later to earlier. So later year has to be come in first, right? Okay. So if I have to talk about your Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh, so this was formed in the year 1955. So RTUC, the Red Trade Union Congress, that was formed in the year 1931. HMS, Hind Mazdoor Sabha, that was formed in the year 1948. Then we have CITU, Center of Indian Trade Unions, that was formed in the year 1970. National Council of Central Trade Union, that was formed in the year 1971. So if you look and arrange them according to their formation from later to earlier, so the right answer should be option D, E, D, A, C, B, right? Okay. Now, given below are the various authorities under ID Act. We have to arrange them in ascending order as per their sections appearing in the Act, right? So your Industrial Tribunal is your section 7A, right? And voluntary arbitration is section 10A. Court of Inquiry is section 6. Board of Conciliation is section 5. And National Tribunal is section 7B. So if we arrange them in ascending order, so the order comes to be at option B, that is DCAEB, right? Okay, again, we have to arrange the provisions relating to health under the Factories Act in ascending order. Okay, so these are the various provisions under the chapter health. So if we look at the options, artificial humidification is your section 15, ventilation and temperature is section 13, drinking water is section 18, lighting is your section 17, and then dust and fume is section 14. So if we arrange them in ascending order, we will find that this option is depicted by option B, that is BEADC, right? Okay, now we have to arrange the sections in ascending order for the deductions as provided under the Payment of Wages Act 1936. So again, if we look at the options, the deductions for services rendered is section 11. For damage or loss, it is section 10. And then absence from duty is your section 9. Recovery of loans is section 12A. Recovery of advances is section 12. So if we arrange them in ascending order of sections, so the option again is depicted by option B. CBAED is the correct answer. Okay, now we have to arrange the various theories of labor welfare with their concept. Okay, so your philanthropic theory of labor welfare. So A is being matched up with option 4. Okay, so this is your philanthropic. Okay, so this is your A part. Okay, men's love for men. Placating theory is your labor groups are becoming demanding and militant and they are more conscious. So this is your B. And public relations is always making something for goodwill, right? So this is your option C, an atmosphere of goodwill between management and labor and also between management and public. Functional or efficiency theory of labor welfare, we are left with this option, means to secure, preserve and develop the efficiency and productivity of the labor, right? So this is option D, which is reflected by option B. Okay, now we have to match various theories of wages with their concepts. So marginal productivity of theory. So if you look at the options itself, they themselves are giving the hint to us. So marginal productivity, here it is written. So A goes with 2, right? And exploitation theory of wages. Okay, अगर इसको सेट असाइड कर दें अभी 2 मिनट के लिए, डिमांड एंड सप्लाई theory of wages, here it is written demand and supply of labor, wages are determined by the interaction of demand and supply, right? So this is your B. Okay, and bargaining theory, here again the hint is given, wages are determined by bargaining between employers and workers, so this is your option D. Okay, and then we are left with exploitation theory of wages. So this is reflected by 4. Labor is paid only a part of the share that he produces and the rest is in the hands of capitalist. So this option is reflected by option A. Okay, there are 2 statements in the form of assertion and reasoning. The Constitution of India and the directive principles stresses upon the importance of labor welfare. Yes, assertion is correct. Voluntary welfare measures come under welfare work voluntarily carried out by the employers and workers organizations. So again, assertion and reason both are correct. However, B is not the reason B which is stated here. That is not the reason R which is stated here. That is not the correct explanation of assertion A. Okay. So accordingly, option B is the correct answer to this question. Okay, now what we have with us, that is comprehension based passages. So this comprehension was given in the paper for 91 to 95th question, right? So what we have to do, we have to answer them based on the reading of our passage. Okay, and these comprehensions, both these comprehensions were very easy, very easily deduced answers. Okay, so question says, what was the number of working hours for children in Indian factories prior to the implementation of the Factories Amendment Act 1891? So Factories Amendment Act, if we look at the comprehension, this has been talked about in this paragraph. So here they are saying that the hours of work for children were reduced to 6 per day. But how much they were earlier prior to this? That has not been revealed in the passage. So answer to this question is the passage does not reveal this fact. Okay, fine. Again, based on the same passage, it says which one of the following provisions was not included in the Factories Amendment Act of 1891. Again, we have to look this passage because this is talking about 1891 Amendment Act of Factories, right? So it says it provided for better ventilation and for preventing overcrowding in factories. So ventilation, overcrowding, and this also talks about health and safety of the industrial workers. So transportation was a provision which was not included in the act. Okay. So correct option to this question is option D. Next is who among the following led to the labor investigation committee? So here they are talking about labor investigation committee, right? And in bracket they have given Rege committee. So correct option to this question is Rege, right? Who among the following was not the part of the labor welfare reformers during the early period of industrial development in India? Very simple question from the passage. In the first line of the passage itself, they are saying that these efforts were made by largely by social workers, philanthropists, religious leaders, mostly on humanitarian grounds. So which of the party is not mentioned? That is factory owners. Rest all were there, right? So correct option to this question is option D. Which among the following is not a correct statement? According to the passage, which is not the correct statement, if you look at the option, again, if you look at this passage, you will be able to find out that the Factories Amendment Act 1891 applied to all factories employing 50%, but it says 100%. So that is why statement C is incorrect. And rest of the statements, they are being straightforward provided that they are the correct statements. Okay, fine. Okay, so 1850, they they are talking about here this fourth statement. They are talking about that this is correct. So World War One, if we look at this passage, we will be able to find that wages did not keep pace with the rising prices. So this one is also correct. Establishment of ILO, if we look at the passage here itself, they are writing that it was formed in 1919. So this is again a correct statement, right? Next. Okay, now we have a new passage with us and we have to find out answers. So if you go through the passage, it says statement 1 says it was only after the year 1947 that formal industrial organizations emerged in India. So, and the second statement says since the public sector units were recipient of limited investments, it became center of industrial disputes. So 1947, it was only after the year 1947 that formal industrial organizations emerged in India. Here they are writing it was only after the year 1850 that formal industrial organizations emerged in India. So this statement is incorrect. And in the second statement, they are saying since the public sector units were recipient of limited investments. Here it is written since the public sector units were recipients of large investments. So here they are writing limited investments. Here in the passage it is written that they were the recipients of large investments and became the biggest players. So again this is incorrect based on the passage, right? So answer to this question is option B. Okay, which of the following are mentioned in the ancient Indian text Arthashastra? So if we again look at the passage, we can easily locate the answer to this question. The ancient Indian text, the Arthashastra, refers to the job description of the supervisor. Here is the option. And performance like pay for artisans. So answer must be B and D, which is reflected by capital C option, right? Which one of the following factors is responsible for the increased number of personnel office in many organizations in India? Answer is given at the end of the passage. Here it says the next phase of development saw the rise of the trade unions and manager unions in the Indian business organization. This further boosted the growth of personnel offices. So the answer must be option A. After which of the following event the country has seen significant improvement in the personnel management policy of business organization? Here it is written that it was only after India became an independent country in 1947 that significant improvement was witnessed in the personnel management policy of business organization. So answer must be option A. Which one of the following is not a correct statement? Many constitutional provisions were created in order to protect workers. Industrial organizations were broadly classified into British industries and Indian industries. So if you look at the passage, we will be easily able to locate here that after independence, when a mixed economy was encouraged as the Indian growth model, industrial organizations were broadly classified into public sector and private sector, but not in British and Indian industries. So this option is not correct. Rest all these statements are given as it is as correct statement in the passage itself, right? So these rest all these three are correct. Okay.
So in this question, they have asked that an employee development management method which was popularized at Harvard Business School, which focuses on cases of actual experiences of organization. This is a very straightforward question, very basic question. What they want to know, they are asking a development method that came out of Harvard Business School, which took up cases of the actual experiences of the organization. The correct answer is simulation. Simulation is when real life experiences are put in the rooms so that the employees get to experience them firsthand and then learn how to deal with those. The second question is talking about flexible work arrangements, and the keyword in this question is not. If you look at the options that have been given to you, telecommuting, yes. Job sharing, yes. Compressed work week, yes. The only option which is not a flexible work arrangement is time off, which means that you have taken a vacation, taken a leave, and left your work for some time. The next question talks about one-time payment that some employers pay at the time of terminating an employee. If an employee is removed or terminated before the end of his or her tenure, it is called as severance pay. It is called as severance pay. This is a very straightforward basic question, right? In the next question, they have talked about organizational level interventions, and the keyword again is not. The options which have been given are appreciative inquiry, parallel learning, structure, transformational leadership, and team building. Appreciative inquiry is learning and exploring the organization for its strengths and successes. Parallel learning structure talks about it talks about different departments coming to work together. And transformational leadership is when you inspire and motivate employees. The only option in this question, which is not on an organizational level intervention, is team building. Team building is very important, but it's not on the organizational level interventions. The next question talks about knowledge management. It talks about knowledge management. If you guys read the key elements of knowledge management, it talks about knowledge creation, capture, sharing, storage, application, and evaluation. So out of the options which have been given to you, immigration is not the correct answer. The next question talks about the balance scorecard, which focuses on production and operating statistics, such as order fulfillment, cost per order, and all. The options which have been given are business process, financial performance, customer service, learning, and growth. The correct answer is business process. But in this question, also the thing to learn is it's a strategic management tool given by Kaplan and Norton, in which they discussed all of these points. Okay, the next question talks about the strategy which MNCs look for in innovation and design of new products. The correct answer is prospectors. Prospectors is when an MNC invests a lot of its time and money into R&Ding different products so that they can always be one step, two step, three steps ahead of their competition in the market. The next question talks about the extent to which group members support and validate one another while at work. The correct answer is cohesion. The correct answer is cohesion. When different members of the group work together, support each other for not only their own goals, but for other people in the group. They work towards the goals of other people in the group, and together they all grow. The next question talks about emotional and feeling aspects. This is affective component. Very straightforward question, very basic question. If you are talking about the attitude components which talk about feelings, that's affective component, right? The next one talks about organizational factors of stress. Task structures produce stress, role expectation, interpersonal variables, all of these factors are stress. Perception is not what causes stress. Perception is what others feel about the organization, right? Next question talks about personal dimensions that characterizes someone as calm, self-confident, and secure. This is stability. This is very basic definition of emotional stability. Next question talks about different types of human capitals. What are the different types of human capitals? If you want to know, they are intellectual capital, social capital, emotional capital, creative, cultural, physical, and spiritual. So the correct answer is A, C, and E, which is given in your question. The next one talks about how you design an HR information system. You design an HR information system. So in any HR system, the first thing that you do is define the product, define the project, right? The second thing is you analyze what you already have and what you don't have. Then you work towards designing how the system will look. And then you implement it and then look for the post-implementation survey, maintenance, and taking care of it. So the correct answer is C. In the next question, they have talked about cultural dimensions as defined by Greet Hofstad. If you have studied Greet Hofstad's work, he has talked about power distance, which is given in your option. Then he has talked about individualism versus collectivism. Then he has talked about masculinity and femininity. He has talked about uncertainty and long-term versus short-term orientation, as well as talked about indulgence versus restraint. So the only thing which is not given in your, which has not been covered by Greet Hofstad is universalism. The next question talks about legitimate power. Legitimate power. These are the statements that can be correct or won't be correct. So if you read the statement, it is identical to authority, yes, and is closely aligned with reward and coercive power. This is absolutely correct when you're talking about power. Then it comes from cultural value, absolutely correct. Social structure, being representative, this is also correct. It does not create an obligation to accept an influence. This is wrong. It does create an obligation to be accepted and to be influenced. So the correct answer is A and B, which is given in option D. The next talks about basic group norms. This is very basic, establishing distinct identities, non-predictable behavior, embarrassing interpersonal problems, work culture, all of these things. The only thing is, which is not there, is this non-predictable behavior. So the correct answer is A, C, and D. The next talk about Maslow's need hierarchy. If you remember Maslow's need hierarchy, he talks about a pyramid, right? So what's the highest order to lowest order? What's the correct one? First one, the highest is self-actualization. The second is esteem. The third is social belongingness. Fourth is social security. And fifth is physiological, which is given in your option C. The next talks about not an effect of absenteeism on individual employee. Very basic question. The correct statements which are not an effect of absenteeism are industry suffer loss and organizational efficiency. These are not the cases. So correct answer is C and D. The next one talks about economic cause of labor migration, and they want to talk about not the cause of labor migration, right? So which of these are not there? Better employment opportunities, it is a cause. Higher wages, it is a cause. Better facilities and infrastructure, all these three are economic causes. The only thing which is given in the question which is not an economic cause are marriage and social discrimination. So the correct answer is D. The next one has very basic definitions of welfare. Welfare suggests many ideas, meanings, and connotations of the state of well-being, and it's a relative concept related to time and space. Absolutely. Welfare has evolved from how it started to what it is now. So both of these statements are correct. Next question talks about approach of hierarchy of objectives, and it is asking you to arrange them on basis of top-down approach. So the first one will always be the purpose, of the objective. The second will be the mission, how to do it, what to do, when to do, right? The third will be what the organization wants, Next will always be department, and finally you'll get to individuals. So the correct answer is A. The next one is a very basic match the following question. If you guys see, and it talks about the different eras in HRM, practices and their development. So the scientific management era was in 1900s to 1920s. Human relations era was in 1930s to 50s. Behavioral science era started off in 50s and went on till 60s, and HRM era is 1980s onwards. So the correct match is B. Okay, so the next question talks about the authors and their books. So Selig Perlman wrote the theory of labor movement. Then Hoxie wrote Trade Unionism in United States. Tannerbaum was responsible for writing mediating roles of the trade union in underdeveloped countries, and Ashok Mehta wrote the book Philosophy of Labor. So the correct answer is B. The next one talks about the different articles of Indian Constitution and their meaning, right? So Article 39 talks about equal pay. Article 41 talks about right to work. Article 42 talks about provision for securing just and human conditions at work, and 43 talks about endeavor to secure a living wage. So the correct answer is C.